Number 8. Are we moving? Yes. Today is the 19th of January. It's 5 to 6, and Flo has left to do her. She's doing 2 classes, one from 6 to half 7, and then one from 7:45 to half 8 or something, or 9. And so I'm here on my own. I've been doing something unusual lately. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I took out my box of notebooks, and I've been going through them on the kitchen table here, where I've been playing my Anno. And what I'm doing is, in no particular order, I'm picking going through the notebooks, and I've got another green notebook that I'm writing on. When I come across something that interests me or inspires me, I write it out, sometimes changing it a little bit. And the book I'm writing on is a bit, because the pages just keep falling. They're going to fall out. It's binded in a way that it gives the impression you're supposed to tear the pages out when you use them. I don't really know why it's like that. You know, once you fold the pages, they just come out. It's a bizarre. It's the same book that I was using for the French course. Anyway, that doesn't matter. I've read through about 4 little red notebooks, and I'm just now thinking about them. I was realizing that back then there was YouTube and the internet to go through if you wanted. If you were in front of a laptop. But it's kind of strange to think that if you weren't in front of a laptop, you didn't have any of the applications that we have now. As far as I know, you couldn't spend all night flicking through your phone like now. And so I spent an awful lot of time writing, which is how I managed to fill about 10 or more of those little red notebooks. And at last I found it interesting going back over them. I realized for the first time, strangely, that when I wrote through the night, I used to always say, I'd start, let's say, writing at 7, and I'd say, well, I'm going to write as much as I can, try and pass the time, but at around 1 o'clock, I'm going to be hit by this wall of depression or whatever, and it's going to be very difficult to get through that, and I have to fight the boredom and fight this and that. And it never seemed to strike me that it was simply the tiredness that was affecting me. Because I don't think I ever wrote the very obvious line of, I feel very irritated. It's 3 o'clock in the morning and I can't think of anything to write. My mind is all over the place. I feel edgy, blah, 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 blah. The reason, obviously, is because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you would normally be asleep at this point, but that never seemed to strike me in the writing. I always thought it was just certainly tiredness in some way, but mainly it was just the onslaught of boredom or whatever. But of course, looking back, you go, well, my God, of course you're going to feel crap doing a 12-hour shift when it gets to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, there's nothing you can do about it. It's nothing, with the best disciplined affirmations and books and mental preparations in the world, you're going to struggle at that hour. It's completely natural. Your body is kind of a bit confused, I suppose, by why you're still awake. But I found it interesting anyway, the stuff that I wrote. And I'm writing it out, starting again and another. I'd love to write something that is not a story, but it's got some kind of something that I can communicate, some kind of a spiritual, uplifting kind of book, which is a little abstract. And I don't, there's absolutely no reason why one wouldn't. I mean, my God, think of paintings, think of movies, and we can pretty much think of anything. The way a person expresses themselves is up to them, and if you want to do it your way, which is as far as I'm aware, I'm probably wrong here, it probably has been done before, but it's not the way that would ever get you published, which is kind of sad, because obviously you'd love to be published. But I don't want to write something with characters, no matter how symbolic they are, or with symbolic stories. I really want to write the way the way I've always written. It's a little bit autobiographical, and it's a little bit prose, and it's a little bit poetic. I'd like to think and it's got the things in it that have connected with me over the course of my life. And I just do it the way I want, and it doesn't really make any sense. There is no beginning, middle, end. There's no plot, there's no characters, there's no structure. But at the same time, it is a work that's an awful lot of effort has gone into it. I'm going through notebooks, and the notebooks I'm going through I've gone through other notebooks to get to those notebooks, and everything has been distilled down into points that have stood the test of time, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of them being thought-provoking, at least. I find when I read the red notebooks, it is a similar thing that happened when I read the 1993-4 Sutherland Avenue stuff. There is a certain atmosphere in it, and a relaxation in the words, I think. When you kind of, you spend a lot of time on it, it's like you kind of get into that sphere, and there's something there. And so my idea is to I can't think of a better opportunity as well. I'm running out of interest a bit in the Anno game. I've got flow here sometimes all day, and I mean, seriously, I need to do something. It's no joke when Flo says, well, Flo gets annoyed about all kinds of things, about me not working and blah blah blah, but this is something that seems it's kind of surprising I haven't thought about before. It is a great opportunity to resurrect the whole writing thing. And I used to think, I have to look for publishers, and it's all a fucking nightmare. I hate all that stuff, and I get to do drafts and send them off. You need proofreaders, all this kind of thing. But right now, looking for any kind of course or anything connected with the French language or computer language, coding, and looking for jobs, and all that stuff is worse, I think, than actually finding out I've got something here. It's in this form. I want to put it into, it's handwritten. I got 50 handwritten pages. I think it's a good thing. I've really worked on it. I need to transform that into words, a document. And then I can send it maybe to Pamela, which would be a little much, considering we don't really speak to her anymore. But it doesn't matter. Send it to Pamela to proofread it, I'd say. And then really look and see, well, where can I send this? Can I self-publish it? Can I do a John Woodgate on it and make 100 copies? Not just John Woodgate, but Jody. I mean, do a little small, I think they call it like a small treatise, a small novelette. And go kind of all out for it to try and, I've already opened up a YouTube channel, Stockburn, which is empty and it's not connected to me. I don't think anyone will, know about Opinion Day or anything about this, and start really, again, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, just start kind of uploading quotes and lines and ideas, and go all out for this thing of trying to put something out there that is a little bit enigmatic and a little bit, I love the word mystic, and put anonymous on the title. I don't even need my name on it. It's not important. I have to say the dollar signs do kind of go into my eyes when you'd love to have something that was earning some money bit by bit, even if it was a small amount each month coming in. If the thing was actually been, even if publishing myself and then somehow it's been downloaded bit by bit into Kindle or something on Google. Or if somebody, I've been here so many times before, this normally always ends in disappointment, but it doesn't matter if the process is something that entices you, and the process of all this, God, it's so much more interesting than looking for jobs and looking for computer courses. To be finding ways of sending my word out there, finding ways of constructing something that is got something, to be in the art realm rather than in the fucking packing shelves or typing full stops and inverted commas and things in coding, to be actually doing something in an artistic way. So I think it comes at a great time, and I'm going to throw myself into this. It's also a fucking great thing to say to Flo. If she says, I'm not doing anything waste time, I can say I certainly am doing something very important. I'm doing something that's been a passion of mine all my life. I'm doing something, I'm trying to find my way like you. I'm trying to get my words together. I'm trying to create something. I'm doing my own sculpture, my own yoga. This is, and maybe she will be a little more accommodating for that than if I'm just playing Anno. So yeah, that's what's happened this January. It's lightened me up a bit, so it's got to be good. I'm obviously motivated. I love going through my old stuff, and this now has got, there's really an idea behind it, a very simple idea to put together a short novelette. And for the first time, I think the first time in my life, I'm really not, I'm not going for any kind of a conventional story. I really want to put down what I feel like wants to be put down. What I feel like is coming through me, the parts that, the sentences, the ideas. I'll try and put some kind of logic to it, But there'll be no characters, no plot, nothing like that. It's just You know, maybe it'll be like, this is the diary of so and so. See what you think, whatever. Otherwise, it is the 19th of January. I'm going to see Dr. Merite the 2nd of February, and on the 10th of February, I've got my teeth to be done. Which hasn't been on my mind for the last few days, I have to say. And me and Flo had I think I initiated it. I don't know whether I spoke about this. Maybe I did already. A few days ago. We had a talk. I was bizarrely, I don't know why, because this is such a bad idea, but I was thinking, you know, Flo, maybe if I speak to Martina at some point, maybe the idea of me going to Ireland to work for a few years to build up my pension, well, that might be a great idea, you know, a good idea. Maybe I could look into that. And of course, it's almost like doing something, saying something when you're drunk, and then the next day you're like, fuck, what the fuck, what was I thinking? I don't want to do that. And today it's like that. And I mean, I'd say about an hour after saying this to Flo, I was like, why did I say that? I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back to Ireland. I don't want to have to go through all that shit of getting jobs and security and all the rest of it. Or do I? I'm a little bit confused as I think about it right now. If I think about it in a nice way, but no, it's a terrible idea. But my pension in France at the moment is 300 euros a month, apparently, when I look at it on my app. 300 euros a month. And by the way, I said that if I worked for another 6 years or 7 years or even 10 years, it won't make much difference to that. Because that's from 15 years almost. So if I worked another 10 years, it wouldn't even get to 600 a month. It's still kind of shit. Anyway, you kind of hope things will be okay somehow. You don't want to get to pensionable times and be living on, you know, €5 in your pocket to last you for 3 weeks and be thinking, shit, I seen this coming and I didn't do anything. You don't want that to happen. And to be honest, it won't happen for Flo. I think she's got so many things going. But the situation between me and her, I mean, after this discussion, it went into other things. I did tell her, I said to her something I've been wanting to say to her. I said, if the situation was changed somehow, and I was earning the money and you weren't, I wouldn't care if you sat down and watched Netflix all day. I wouldn't care if you never worked again. If I was able to have enough money to look after both of us, as long as you were happy, I wouldn't care what you did. And she said, I know there are women like that as well. If you were with Charlotte, maybe she'd be like that and she wouldn't care as long as you were, I kind of said, as long as you're happy, I'd be happy. But at some point earlier she said, well, you're not playing games and stuff, not on my watch. You're not going to be doing nothing on, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm not supporting you, kind of like that. And onward, and I'm not trying to patch anything up anymore. I've long since passed that point. And I kind of have to say to myself that I'm not in any stretch of the way perfect or anything. And there's a lot of unconscious stuff that I don't see in me, which when Flo points it out, it's obviously true and it affects me, but there's also no getting away from certain things. I say I'd like you to be happy, I wouldn't care. She doesn't want me to be happy if it means I'm going to be in the house all day or if I'm not working. She continually attacks me over the French and everything else. Sometimes I say things to her and she completely ignores me because she's on her phone. And it's not even like she comes back to me later and says, sorry, what did you say? Sometimes she doesn't bother. It's like I can't be asked to even ask him what he said because I'm sure it was just crap. And then, you know, it's like kind of non-stop. Today I was cleaning something and it was like a little thing had a candle in it or something, and the sides were all black. And so I started cleaning it, but nothing happened. So I kind of assumed, well, you can't clean this, it's burnt. So I just cleaned it a bit and then put it to one side, and Flo came along after and said, you know, you can clean this. And I said, oh, I didn't realize. And she, instead of just saying, you know, yeah, you just blah, blah, you just clean it, it cleans. She couldn't just say that. And again, maybe it's a mix of cultures and her family and stuff, but she had to kind of say stuff like, typical you gave up, you see, typical pessimism, couldn't try, you see, couldn't do it, so you just left it there. It was like a whole negative sphere that annoyed me immediately. And I tried to say to her, I've never cleaned anything like that before that's burnt. So I just assumed, yeah, typical assuming and typical you. And again, maybe it's nothing to her and it's just the way she speaks. And I was going to say it to her, and I was going to say, you know, Flo, I don't mind you telling me this. If you just tell me in a kind of civil way, then I'll know, and next time I'll clean it. But it's the way you do it. But then when I say stuff like that, it can lead to a worse situation. And then sometimes in the heat of these arguments, I don't always, I get kind of annoyed, and it's like a guy in a gunfight where you get kind of really angry and you start firing bullets all over the place, but you make yourself out worse because you're not clear and you say stupid things, and then Flo falls back on something else that you can't argue with, you know. So I said nothing, but it's been kind of like this. If I show her a picture of herself, or I say, oh look, these are tickets, this happened yesterday, look at these tickets to Ennio Morricone concert in London, she'll never say, I remember that, I really enjoyed that, it was a great evening, it was a nice concert, wasn't it? She'll say, different time, not like that anymore, different time, that's just the way it was, not like that now. And I've said to her before, it's funny, Flo, sometimes everything I can say to you, even if I mean it in the best possible way, you hit it back to me with all the negativity. It's weird. Even the conversation, like I just was talking about saying, maybe I should talk to Martina, and maybe I should go back to Ireland, and maybe I should try and I could maybe get Ryanair flights to come back to France very often. And it's a huge kind of thing. I think it's a big step to be, you know, and she's kind of for it, but even that kind of, it somehow ends up in an argument about everything. Even when you're bringing up stuff, I guess the other side of it is that, you know, you kind of get the feeling, oh God, Flo, you know, if I said to Flo, I'm going to join the army, I'm going to Ukraine, she'd be like, yeah, well, that's good, you'll find, you know, if I say anything at all that means I'm going to get out of this house, she will be happy. And I'm getting used to it, you know, and I'm realizing it's a fact, but it's kind of sad for me to, come to terms basically with the fact that she doesn't really want you here. It doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. I've got as much right to be here as her. But the fact that if I was to stand up and say, Flo, going back to Ireland for good, it's the fact that you wouldn't be missed. That no one would try and change your mind. That everyone would be like, I think it's best. And all the history, all the time here, all the stuff we've done together, all the times I've been supportive with her, which she is kind of just doesn't see at all. She doesn't see that I've done anything remotely good for her ever since the beginning. Again, it's another thing that's I guess saddening, is that the person can say stuff like, I care about you, I don't want anything to happen to you, and but there isn't it's everything is kind of wrapped around the frequency of guilt. Yeah, I did, I really loved you one time, but you didn't give it back to me, you did this, you did that, it was your fault, you didn't, even though I did as much as I could in my way. I'm never a person for being very flamboyant in these emotions. But at the same time, I'm a kind of a romantic and idealist, and I'm very nostalgic, and you say things and you show some pictures, or you say, oh, I've just read that, in 2005 we went here and we did this. Remember that? We were in the hotel and it was... She will send everything back with the negativity. It will always be, yeah, it was great now, but you fucked it up. That's kind of, she doesn't say that at all, but that is kind of that's always the underlying atmosphere of it all. You messed it up though. When sometimes it'd be nice to say, yeah, I really enjoyed that, it was a great day. That's maybe all you want to hear, Anyway, I don't really care, because I'm not feeling, like I said, I've long since, for quite a while now, got over this whole situation. And right now I realize it is the way it is, and I'm not kicking myself about it anymore. I don't think I'm a really desperate person, I remember the film There Will Be Blood, that Dano character. The way religion can be used to make people torment themselves. And it's a terrible thing to be actually not a bad person, but to believe that you're a terrible person because someone is manipulating you in a way, and religious forces. And Flo is not like that at all. And she's just speaking from her own truth. She's not in any way manipulative. She's in that kind of, that's the groove she's very deeply in. And that's the thing that triggers in her every time you bring up subjects about us. It just happens, I don't think there's no... It's not premeditated. It's just the words flow over when you mention this stuff. It triggers something. But I know in my heart that if I was working and earning 1,400 euros a month, and if I had property somewhere and if Flo wasn't doing anything, I really wouldn't mind. I'd want her to be happy. And she can't reciprocate that. She can't say it to me, and she couldn't in the argument. She couldn't say, I want you to be happy as well. kind of says a lot. It's on her terms. She wants it to be on her terms. And if I'm, it doesn't matter if I'm miserable. If I'm working and earning money, if I'm out of the house doing some crappy job, it doesn't matter whether I'm happy or not. It doesn't matter. I'm going to take a short break. Actually, shall I? What is that? 30 minutes. Let's stop there. If I want any more, I'll do it later. But 30 minutes is enough.